Research Methods Assignment 5 Screencast by Charlie Taylor. So first, I'm going to talk about contrasting quantitative data techniques. The first technique is descriptive statistics. The first key terminology is measured of dispersion, and this includes range and standard deviation. Range is the difference between the largest and the smallest number in the data, and standard deviation is a quantity expressing by how much the members of a group differ from the mean value of the group. The second technique is measured of central tendency, which includes the mode, median, and mean. Mode is the number which is the most common, median is where you put all the numbers in order and it's the central number, and mean is when you add all the numbers together and divide by how many numbers there are overall. Next, I'm going to talk about distribution curves. So first of all, skewness curves show how steep a curve is. This curve here shows negative skewness. This curve shows neutral skewness, and this curve shows positive skewness. The next curve is the kurtosis curves. These curves show how flat a curve is. This curve shows positive kurtosis. This curve shows neutral kurtosis, and this curve shows negative kurtosis. Next, I'm going to talk about inferential statistics, which is the other type of data technique. Its role is to test for relationships or differences between different data sets, and it also looks for if the data is significant and not a fluke. It does this by looking at the p-values of the data. If the p-value is equal to or below 5%, this means that the data is significant. The technique also includes parametric and non-parametric tests. Parametric tests are used for internal and ratio data, whereas non-parametric tests are used for nominal and ordinal data. Next, I'm going to talk about the Pearson's test. This test looks for the relationship between two sets of data, and it's a parametric type of data as it looks at the internal and ratio types of data. It uses two variables to analyse data. One variable could be something such as shoe size, and the other could be something along the lines of how far you can jump. And that will be measured. This test would look to see if there is any correlation between these two variables, such as having a bigger shoe size means that you would have a longer jump, or the opposite, or they may not have any correlation at all. The second test I'm going to talk about is the Spearman's test. This test, just like the last one, also searches for a relationship between two different sets of data. However, it is non-parametric data, which means that it specifically looks at ordinal and ranked data. It looks for a relationship between these two types of data and uses R values to show whether the data results are significant or not. The third test I'm going to talk about is the t-test. This test, in contrast to the others, looks for the differences between data and uses parametric data collection for it. This test involves a dependent variable, which is something that doesn't change, and an independent variable is where something is able to change. This test only tests two different sets of data and finds the mean of the data. The variation of the two data sets used must be close. In addition to all this, there are two types of t-test, dependent and independent. Dependent tests is when the same group of people is partaking in the same tests two times, whereas independent tests are where two different groups partake in the test. The final test I'm going to speak about is the Mann-Whitney U-test. This test also searches for the differences between data sets and uses non-parametric data collection. This test is basically the same as the test as the independent t-test, however it is non-parametric, and it also tests the significance of two independent tests and the mean as well. Lastly, this test finds the v-value, which is used to show how significant the data is.